One of the main problems involved in coming on the radio like this is the fact that we can't see each other. This is Nightsounds. I'm Bill Pearce, and I welcome you. Some time ago, a listener wrote in and said, "Please, at the end of your program, don't say good night to all of you. I want to think that I'm the only one listening. It's just you and me here, alone, together." Well, even though both of us knew better, she had a point, and I understood what she meant. I used to do the same thing before getting into radio. There would be certain personalities on the air with whom I could identify. I made heroes out of some of them, father figures out of others, almost fell in love with one of the performers. Tonight's program is entitled Get a Life. I heard William Shatner, the star performer of the old film series on television Star Trek, tell a group of Trekkies to get a life. These were groups of people whose life seemed to revolve around Star Trek, the series. And he wasn't trying to be malicious with them or insulting them, but he said there is life beyond Star Trek. There's life beyond Nightsounds, and beyond you and me, and whatever we're into. So get a life is not a toss-off, insulting phrase. It just directs us to the fact there is something more than what we're into that perhaps may not be working for us in our lives. What do we see in the future? What do we see right now? Is there any meaning? Well, in our program tonight, Get a Life, I'd like you to listen particularly to the music, to the lyrics, to the transmission of meaning that happens throughout these moments together. The group Treasure opening our program tonight musically. As we look around, what do we see? Any meaning anywhere? Anybody? Let's check in on this message.
Everywhere I turn, I see busy people running, frustrated, wounded lives, desperate and in need. There is a battle raging on inside this heart of mine. I long to show the light of Christ, but my weakness seems to shine. And when our paths cross in one moment of eternity, when their searching eyes fasten on me, let it be Christ they see. Let them see Jesus in all that I do. Let His Spirit come shining through. Let them see Jesus in all that I am. And let the gospel spring forth in this land. It's time we stand united, when family in God, walking hand in hand in the bond of love, when
Fading off into the distance, the group Treasure. The admonishment and song, Let Them See Jesus in You. That's possible. It's not just a religious experience. It's not a matter of piety or any kind of mental exercise, we might call it. Tonight's program, Get a Life, and it's possible. Never before has there been so much transmission of information and so little true communication. Innovative communications, methods, machinery have been developed and embraced in these past few years. Yet the human beings for whom those tools have been developed have increasingly lost touch with the art of personal communication. And unfortunately, on September 11th, 2001, the experience of attack from a foreign nation polarized not only New Yorkers, but the entire nation and other parts of the world. Often it takes a tragedy to do this, but it doesn't have to. Dialogue has been largely replaced by monologue. I'm into the monologue process right now, yet I expect you to respond. That makes it worthwhile. It causes me to realize that there's more beyond this whole operation than this control board in front of me, or this cold piece of steel called a microphone, which sort of makes us disembodied spirits until there is response. George Barnes said, "Our research has noted that many lonely individuals are so desperate to form meaningful liaisons with other people that they seemingly cannot contain themselves when a likely prospect for a friendship comes along. Rather than pursue that relationship at a reasonable pace, striving to achieve balance in the development of both sides of a relationship, they charge ahead, bent on telling the other person what's important and forgetting to absorb the ideas, feelings, and information offered. In short, millions of Americans have lost the art of listening, processing the information gleaned and responding in an appropriate manner." Mr. Barner went on to say, "Our survey findings suggest that the inability to respond appropriately in due times, to focusing on personal needs rather than the needs of the other party. But many times we've found then the difficulty in bonding is often associated with people's inability to articulate care, concern, understanding, commitment. And often we're so guarded that we feel threatened, we're insecure. Relationships require that people be available for interaction. But, of course, both of us know that the stresses, the pace of life, accelerating, finds millions in isolation. Tonight's program, Get a Life. Privacy is something we want. We fear that government will gain too much information and pry away our rights. We fear that businesses will discover too much about our income levels or buying patterns and annoy us with telemarketing and incessant advertising. We don't want our employers to learn things about our past or our hopes for the future, or in any way impair our ability to get ahead in our lives. The quest for privacy has led to a separation from others. We protect our time at all costs, and technology helps us to do this. Television, even radio, the computer finds people looking for more information, and there's plenty out there. Never been as much. But we get locked into a screen, or a radio speaker, or a television tube. Tonight's program, Get a Life, is not a toss-off phrase. It's not an insult. It's a desire to be connected. We were born for this. God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." That does not by any means indicate that he is to lord it over her. We're finding so much about our enemies in Afghanistan and how the women were suppressed so long, for so many centuries, and now are beginning to be regarded as actual human beings. That is tragic when it happens to any form of humanity. Tonight, I guess the appeal is to ask God to help us to connect with someone. In a few moments, we're going to play a piece of music with the message, reach out and touch someone for Jesus. Not just touch them emotionally, but with meaning. We can touch one another without having bodily contact. We're doing our best right now. There will be many weeks involved, in some cases between when we hear back from you. With email, of course, it's possible to immediately respond. That's a lot better than it used to be. Taking a moment's break here, just in case you've joined us in the past few minutes, you're in tune with the program Nightsounds. I'm Bill Pearce, your host. We come on the air just about every night on this station, and I just speak with you, not to you or at you, or about you, but with you, hopefully. And again, that indicates the possibility of a response. And after we go off the air in a few moments, we will continue in our outreach through compact discs of the music, some of which you'll hear in a moment. Through the printed page, over to my left here is a copy of the book Golden Moments. It's really an outgrowth of personal devotions in the morning where I write impressions in a journal from various points of Scripture. If we can join you in prayer, this is the most meaningful part of our ministry. Our ministry address is Nightsounds, Wheaton, Illinois, 60189. Please let us know how we can serve you further. And I mentioned a moment ago the email possibilities. The address is nightsoundsradio@aol.com. We also have the website, which lets you in some more material that we don't usually get into on the air. So any way you are able to join us, we would just be delighted to hear from you. I know that you care. I'm just looking at my program sheet over here to my right. That means that the next song we're going to play has that title to it. It's a beautiful number by Larry Mayfield, as delivered by the Melody 4 Quartet. This is good to know that someone cares for you and has done something about you personally. Better than I or anyone else, it's Jesus. Let's listen.
Jesus, lover of my soul, hide me while the billows roll. Rock of ages cleft for me, I am trusting only Thee. You said, "Come, I'll give you
know that you care and that you understand. The Melody 4 Quartet, the beautiful song entitled I Know That You Care. Speaking of Jesus, tonight's program, Get a Life. I'm Bill Pearce, and this is Nightsounds continuing. Leona Choi wrote, "Wait, my child. The Lord commanded me one day. He stopped me short, and I chafed at the delay. But Lord, there's so much to do. To wait is such a waste. Cease your dashing to and fro, and you will see yourself and me anew. Be still, my child." Again my restless feet rebelled. How can I sit? The world is whirling fast. I already run just to keep up, so I'm sure I'll be passed by. Learn to walk by sitting still. A strange reply. Lie still, my child. I've prepared green pastures of the Spirit for those who count the measure of their days and accept the pleasure of what I plan for the hushed heart. Only these can hear my voice, and let me impart my peace to their heart. These verses from Psalm 23, that familiar portion of God's Word. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. Tonight's program is about communication and connectedness and loneliness. Radio can be a companion, and often we hear people speak to us and say, well, even though we may never meet in this life, we look forward to getting together in heaven. A case in point, here's an email that came in. It said, "Dear Mr. Pearce, some time ago I was driving alone in my car. As I tuned in, one station after another, nothing sounded good, until I tuned into an amazingly friendly, comforting voice. As I listened to the message, I was convinced that I needed Jesus in my life. That night I prayed to the Lord, thanking Him for loving me so much that He died for me. I asked Him right there to take control of my life. Thank you for allowing God to speak through this ministry. We had to move out of the area, so I don't get to hear the program anymore, but I hope to see you in heaven." This young man signed his name. Well, I just wish it were possible for us to meet each other before heaven. That would be better yet, wouldn't it? And there we'll have probability of knowing as we are known, as God knows us. What a tremendous outlook. I'd like to play this song that I mentioned a few moments ago. Reach out and touch a man, a woman in need. Reach out and touch someone for Jesus. Trombone solo, low brass, the voice of Bonnie Herman, in just a moment with the words. This is a song of communication and connectedness, and it gives the possibility in its lyric of our touching others with God's love. Let's be involved.
a life torn and dirty, a man who is lonely. If you can
Reach Out and Touch, one of the offerings of the Nightsounds music ministry. This is Nightsounds. I'm Bill Pearce with you, and I just want you to know that tonight you are very special. The Bible reveals God's total interest in you as an individual. The psalmist wrote in one of his most beautiful prayers, "I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." And God knew you and me before we were born. He has plans for us, plans conceived in love, so you are not alone tonight. In fact, I recall a famous statement made by C.S. Lewis some time ago. He said, "There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal." And that's true. Each one of us is a very special creation of our God. We can take that to bed with us and give our lives to Him and know a new joy and a new purpose, beginning right now. Well, once again, I'd sincerely like to thank you for sharing your moments with me tonight, for giving your time, and I just want you to know how important you are and how meaningful your life can be when it's turned over to our God. I hope you have a good day tomorrow, and trustfully we'll be able to meet this way again in a few short hours for more on Night Sounds. Till then, a good night to you.